Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to OzByDrone. I'm Greg.
I'm John. Welcome, everybody. Got a great show again for you this week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks indeed for joining us. And something interesting just before we get into all of the news, I've been looking at a few YouTube videos through the week, and one of the things that drone people are always conscious of is power. Obviously, we need fuel for our drones, and I was looking at some great technology about using iron air batteries. Have you heard of anything about that one?
Not heard that one yet, but you know, you can see a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this one was brand new, and they're actually looking at using it in the grid. So it's not necessarily going to make its way to drones, but just the idea of using iron and air and a chemical reaction happening inside there sounded unique and interesting.
Well, you know, there's a lot of fair bit of iron in the earth, so maybe maybe we'll become one big battery one day. I always can't imagine if that would, you could make the ocean a solar cell, you know,
Yeah.
and that would solve it. But yeah, who knows?
You know, Lloyd could be a battery. I mean, he's got an electric personality, but let's move on.
Go. Shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with our news. And as always, OzByDrone News is brought to you by AirData UAV. Is your drone healthy, or is it about to surprise you on your next flight? Don't wait to find out. Discover under the hood information before you take off again. Use the discount code OzByDrone20 to get a 20% discount. There is a link in the description. So our first story that we've got today is an insect-inspired drone feature. But let's explain the problem first. If a fixed-wing drone survives a fall to the ground, it still pretty much screws if it happens to land upside down. The same cannot be said for beetles like ladybugs. That's because they have their how do you actually say this? Elytra. 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 They have an elytra on the exterior of their spotted wings. If a ladybug lands upside down, it uses them to balance and then to right itself in no time. A research team in Switzerland was inspired to create the same kind of advantage for fixed-wing drones. The team developed a drone that mimics this technique using actuators and a set of artificial elytra. They found that the drones were able to self-right themselves using a set of 17-centimetre elytra in every scenario except on a steep incline and also on grass and in sand. The team also found that the elytra added non-negligible lift during flight, offsetting the weight. Let's have a look. So, John, how many scenarios, is it something that you've seen often with my wife is just sending me a message, why can't I hear your voice in my headphones? I'll come back to her with that later, but
yeah, look, it's an interesting story because I think a lot of the technology we use today is inspired by nature. You know, you think about how the Wright brothers maybe inspired by birds, or even much centuries before that. Yeah, I always imagine a tortoise was the thing that turns it the other way. Is that what? Can a tortoise right itself?
They're the ones that I don't think they always can, actually, but that's another story. Yeah. One of our viewers, can they research that while we're talking? But let's get back to the simple question. How many times flying a fixed wing have you landed upside down?
Look, you usually do it if you're once you've stopped, you know, if you're actually pulling up. If you actually landed inverted, you've probably got other sort of damage. But if in the last stage of the rollout, it managed to nose over. Now, in the early days, you'd often have more trouble with a tail dragger. Once we sort of aircraft had conventional nose wheels, you had a lot less aircraft landing on their back. But believe me, in the early days with tail draggers, where they would land and obviously pull up too quick, they did used to roll over onto their back quite easily.
Mm.
I haven't seen many fixed-wing drones do it. So I think the purpose here again is to explore that kind of technology. I mean, we can see it now with multi-rotors that can flip themselves over. And so someone just must have asked the question. And when you're at university, that's what you do. How much application it would have, I don't know. As I said, I've never had to use it on any of our fixed wings, luckily. But there's always a first time.
Okay. Look, interesting to look at. And our second story is an industrial story. Over the last few years, inspectors working in the cement industry have been realising significant benefits from using indoor drones to collect visual data. Indoor drones are ideal for inspectors conducting internal inspections, particularly in the cement industry. They need to connect visual data periodically in order to identify any potential defects that might require maintenance. So this particular drone is one of those ones that we've seen a couple of times. It's almost a sphere to protect itself. But the one thing that I noticed when I was looking at this is the amount of dust in the cement kind of environment. You know, they're doing concreting work. I don't know about their maintenance plan, but it's going to require a fair bit of periodic maintenance, I would think.
Yeah, look, I'm sure that can fix it, but this is, again, one of those dirty, dull and dangerous jobs that you can do with a rotorcraft where you don't have to actually have your boots on the ground. And it's clever. You know, look at that. If you were going into a building where you suspected that the upper level of the concrete wasn't secure, great way to send the airplane in first rather than going in there with a hammer. So, yeah, great idea. Look, I think that that really comes under the drone inspection bucket, and there's just endless reasons to use a quadcopter whenever there's a dangerous situation to go and have a look. I mean, the list is forever. And it's great that more industries are picking it up. You know, imagine where you're a concreter and you fly on the weekend, you say, wow, this is great. I can start using this in my job. So think about that. How if you, any kind of job that you do, and if you fly recreationally, think about how you might be able to use your aircraft at work to help things out. I know we've got another story coming up about that too, which I even find even more interesting.
Yeah, look, looking at this next one right now, let's bring it up on the screen. Drone line transfer is the title here. John, you're a boating guy, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like boats.
So drones are often used to provide safer solutions to old problems. In shipping, tugboats and crew position themselves in front of and close to an assisted vessel in order to grab the heaving line by hand. By doing so, the tug and crew are pretty much in a danger zone, close to or even under the bow of a vessel. A minor flaw in the operation can result in injuries of the deck, the crew, and or damage to the tug and the assisted vessel. One company is using drones to take care of this. Their design uses a drone to connect the tow line to an assisted vessel, drastically improving the safety margin for their tug operations. So this one's a bit of a longer video. We're going to go and zip through.
Tugboats are great. Look at that.
Terminals on a global scale. In its ambition to achieve safer and more efficient working conditions, Kotug invented a way to ensure safety while connecting the tow line. Conventionally, tugboats...
Let's move that forward a little bit. I can't remember what time we were going to move to.
Here we go.
From the assisted vessel's crew, often even under the bow or in the turbulent propeller wash. A minor flaw in the maneuvering can result in major damage or injuries of the deck crew of both the tugboat and the assisted ship. Kotug is the first tugboat company that uses drone technology with object recognition software to deliver a messenger line to a predetermined location. Thus, instead of picking up the messenger line of the assisted ship, the line will be brought to the ship. This allows the tug to to sail beside the assisted ship
So,
instead of in front.
I mean, what do you think they're doing there in terms of technology? Unfortunately, their video and their PR on this wasn't going into the technical details, but
when you're working with heavy shipping lines, you use a lead line, like a painter, they call it. And so what you do is you have a light line, which is attached, of course, to the heavy line, and you would often have a weight on the end of it, and you can sling that across great distances, and you get pretty good at it. Well, it makes perfect sense for a drone to carry it. Another thing, if you think about this in the same way, another thing that drones are being used for now is with electricity wires. So when you've got a go across a ravine or a large valley, of course, what you do is you don't take the electrical wire, you take a lead line across and establish that on the other side, and then you can just quickly pull through and take the other lines across, and even take the lead line up to great height. So even if you're going to a tower on the other side. And so electric companies are using that same principle exactly whenever you have to thread something. And boy, the way of doing that without a drone, where we use helicopters, was just so expensive, and it didn't really do a great job. The helicopter was never as refined as a quadcopter can be in dropping it. But they're using M600s. I mean, you wouldn't need something that heavy for a very light lead line. One of the big things about all of this, as we always come back to, we all fly here. And it's nice on a good day, right? And when you go out there, it's blowing 30 knots. All the bets are off. Everything changes with the wind and rain and so forth. And often the more difficult times that you would need to have that kind of technology and keep the tug away, you're probably not going to be able to fly a quad of any size. It's just going to be too rough, a heaving deck. So look, they'll sort that out. But at the moment, I always love to see, someone demonstrate something like a tether system or whatever, and it's a lovely sunny day and there's no wind. And of course, it's going to be easy.
Quick interruption there from good old Mr. Wayne King. Thanks, Wayne, for that. Hi, Greg, John and Lloyd. And it disappeared off my screen before I had a chance to read it. But hello, Wayne. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I was going to ask you, here we go, sunny in Canberra today. So, yeah, nice day in Canberra.
Sunny in Sydney too. Even looking out the window, which is what everyone's doing in Sydney.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't get to do much else at the moment. John, let me ask you, other than security in the marina, which you've spoken about before, as someone who is in houseboat and doing all of that kind of stuff, what else can a drone do for you? Do you think there's any possibility for use in any way?
Well, that's we could have set this up, Greg. This afternoon, I've got a shoot for a boat, a Halberg Rassi sailboat. So I got in touch with some of the other mariners here. They knew I was flying around, and I did some aerial shots of some very nice boats. I did a boat show one time, and I put that up on a clip. So now they're ringing and saying, well, we've got this boat. The boat's worth, $1 million. We're going to sail it down the bay, and we want some nice aerial footage of the actual boat sailing under full sail. And boy, I'm making a pretty penny out of that. I'll take the Mavic out, and I'm going to take the FPV out today as well. So I want to do some really low-level, high-speed shots towards the boat, where I can do some kind of interesting, because a sailboat doesn't go real fast, of course, but you can make it look much more dynamic if you fly fast around it. The boat looks like it's going quicker, it looks more exciting, and so forth. So, answer to your question, yeah, I'm 2 hours. I'll be out there on the water in a tender, and so we set it up. I have a radio, a UHF radio on the actual boat we're filming, and one in the tender that we're using, a rib, and then off we go. And it takes a bit of practice taking off from boats and making sure you do it safely. But boy, think about the real estate market. Everyone's selling their house. They want an aerial footage of it. Cars and boats and any other object that you can take nice video of is going to help sell that product for sure. So
one last thought or question. The one thing that you're going to keep in mind, obviously, when you're landing, because you're going to be on the water yourself, is the home point. And just can you remind viewers what you got to do with that?
Yeah, check your home point. So one of the things I like to do is if I've got if I can set it up properly, I will, with the little tender that I can run around in, I'll actually whiz over to a wharf, a static, a boat wharf ramp. I'll put the drone on the ramp and I'll boot it, and I'll make that the home point. And if I can do that, then and I'm in the vicinity, I can certainly capture the drone, hand catch the drone from the tender. But if anything goes wrong, and you've got to always have that what if, it'll return to that static point on the land. Now, the other thing that's important about that is calibrating the IMU. Boat calibration can be difficult if the boat's moving a lot. The IMU takes quite a while to calibrate. So what we did do is we built a stove gimbal. Now, sailboats often have a gimbal so that when you're cooking and the boat is heeling or rocking around, the stove stays upright, little kerosene stove. So we modified one of those with a little helipad. And so we've got a gimbaled launch pad on the boat that we can use as well. And that helps maintain. Thanks, Lloyd.
Lloyd?
That was the wrong one, I think, Lloyd. So while you've got the boat rocking around, and that's quite an easy one to build. You just need a nice board to sit it on. Now, you're not going to land on it, but you're going to take off from it, landing on it.
That was the one he was looking for. That was the one he was looking for, the snoring one.
What was the one you were looking for? I missed that, sorry.
The snoring sound.
Oh, the snoring. Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks very much. I'll keep an eye on you.
Let's move on to our next one. You know what? I had a chat to Lloyd during the week, and he was saying that, to save him from the boring bits, he's going to go and attach some bungee cord to the back of his head so that he can just nod off and that he'll pull them back up. Anyway, moving right along our next story. If there's a significant storm anywhere, you can bet that storm chasers are on the case. One of the best known is American Reed Timmer, a meteorologist who starred in the Discovery Channel series called Storm Chasers. His latest posts include drone footage of a recent flood in Utah. This shows how water behaves on an affected terrain. But drones are not only useful in looking at what happens in this real-life example, but also to build predictive models. So this is the flash flood that he captured. Now we're going to move along a little bit. I wanted to have a look at one bit in particular where you've got this initial movement of the water body there, and just seeing how it goes and moves and progresses around the terrain. Now, obviously, that's a watercourse area there, but certainly understanding that. And then, John, you've done some work previously in predictive modelling as well.
Yeah, we did. I didn't really use the AI software, but we captured a photogrammetry and an elevation of a railway crossing. And every time it rained, both the road and railway would flood, and they didn't know what do we do? It's hard to move the train track. So what do you do? So they thought they'd see where the water was actually wanting to go first. So if you can work out where it's wanting to go, the easiest way to solve the problem is to not try and fight the flow of the water, but help it, assist it to go a certain way with its natural direction. So what you do is you take the elevation model, you've got the contours, and you can then use computer software to select a rain event. So we were saying, okay, 50 mil, and the computer would model where the water would go with 50 mils of rain. Type in 100 and see what happens, and then type in the rate the water would come in. And it was great. The computer would model these different scenarios where the water would go. So there's a fair bit of work being done in hydrodynamics. I think I got that right, in deciding this in terms of the way they've done it. So now using it with elevation models and drones makes perfect sense. But it was pretty interesting, and ended up solving the problem, which was good. I worked out what to do and where to actually dig a drain beside the railway line so that the water would all go in there anyway. You dig the drain in the right place; it wants to go there, and then you can deal with it after that. So yeah, it was fun.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our next one. Definitely a good use of drone technology. We're going to move on to shape-shifting UFO. In the past, UFOs have stirred the imaginations about aliens invading. With the advent of drones, they are now the scapegoat for lots of unexplained aerial phenomena. In the latest incident of a UFO sighting, a German tourist has shared the video of an aerial object that he claims to have spotted in the sky. he reportedly recorded the video of the shape-shifting object from the window of an aeroplane. Let's have a look.
Where was this?
He was airborne. I don't know where the flight was at the time.
Shape-shifting object.
New Mexico,
All
maybe.
This looks as if this thing is made of plasma. The only downfall to this video is I've only been able to obtain the quality in 460p. I wish we had more, but it is enough. The plane's altitude could be anywhere between 10,000 feet and 30,000 feet, and this object is filmed for over 7 minutes above the altitude of the plane, and it seems to be moving alongside with the plane. People are going to call this a UFO.
What do you think, John? I look at that, and that to me looks like an imperfection on the glass of the aircraft.
You know, well, look, if we have to go down, you're going to ask me, we've got to go down the UFO talk. And, you know, that's a whole nother subject, isn't it? I often say to, you know, people when we start this conversation, it's more amazing to think that there couldn't be a UFO than there is. But look, I think there's a lot of visual phenomena that happens that maybe we haven't discovered yet, whether the atmosphere continues to surprise us with what it does and what it has in it. So I have no idea is the answer. I have no idea.
Yeah. Look, it's a much longer video and I do encourage our viewers, go and check the description and have a look at this yourself. And you can have a look at the full video there. I don't know. Look, is there the possibility of life elsewhere in the universe? Yeah, there's a possibility. Are they coming here? Yeah, there's a possibility. But that by itself to me just looked like an imperfection on the glass of the aircraft that he was in. That's just what it looks like to me. I don't know.
You know, I've seen some great stuff, Greg. I suppose, you know, most of my flying when I was, you know, working for TNG was at night. And I find at night you tend to see a lot more interesting things. So Aurora Borealis, and I saw one of those. I saw some really fantastic things created by some storm cells. But in, you know, 6,000 hours of flying or so, I've never seen anything that I thought, oh, there's a spaceship. I haven't seen that. So there you go. That's my experience. But I've seen the atmosphere create some absolutely incredible things to see at night.
Yeah, we had a comment from Trevor there. It looks like a scientific helium high altitude clear plastic tube balloon, whatever that is.
That's a good guess, actually. That's a very good educated guess of what that could be.
Payload has been released and the balloon is returning to Earth, possibly.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, and it caught it an updraft, so it would appear if it's hovering, you know, a weather balloon when it's falling to Earth after it's exposed, easily find vertical currents that would hold it in the air for some time. It's very light. So, yep, absolutely. I'd go with that one straight away.
Okay, well, we're going to pause from our news stories there and just unmute Ellexis's microphone and say hello to our guest. Now, we had Ellexis on a few weeks back now, and that was a kind of a impromptu appearance, but now we've actually officially got you here as a guest. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So let's rewind. You've been flying for how long now in terms of general aviation?
Let's see, 50 years as of last month.
Okay. And drones was only recently, and one of the people in the flying club got you onto drones.
Yes. Yeah. I bought this from him, which is a Mavic. Whoops, sorry. Bumped it. Oh, God. Oh, yeah, hold on.
Ellexis, you don't want to be known as the flasher on the show, but anyway.
I think that's already out.
Yeah.
No comment. I'm not going to incriminate myself. I bought the Mavic Pro from a friend that's in the flying club. And then from there, I went into FPV via the DJI FPV, the one that Ken hates, which I love.
So let's start with that. Tell me about your experience with the DJI FPV.
Well, I've only flown it once, really, with the goggles on. And I think I mentioned that the last time I was on here. Mm-hmm. I've been too busy otherwise. So to really do it. I'm just very busy. I handle too many things. So anyway, yeah, it was pretty intimidating, you know. So yeah, no, I was actually not a baby. I was a teenager. I'm just older than I look. Well, maybe I don't know, maybe I look old. So, but yeah, FPV is something that I'm really excited about, though, because of the when you have the goggles on, you're just totally immersed. I do a lot with Oculus. I sent Jeff Sills a Quest 2, and you might have seen that on Ken's show. So now we're friends there as well. But it's a lot like virtual reality in a way, but yet it's real time. And it reminds me, I think John might have said this the last time, that it's kind of like the viewpoint when you're flying an aircraft, you know, like out the windscreen or the windshield.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about it because of just the immersion of it. And I like the DJI FPV because I'm coming at it from the other end than what Ken is. Ken is, you know, he's coming from it. When he got the DJI, you know, he called Jeff, from what Jeff said, and said it sucked. And I'm like, I don't understand. But then I had to consider where he's coming from. He's coming from.
Yeah, he started photography drone, then he went to traditional FPV, then he went to the DJI FPV. So he's done the roundabout journey. If you're coming from a purely photographic drone background, then yeah, different kind of experience.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So that is something that I'm really excited about. I don't know if I'll ever fly it in manual mode, which is acro, because of the fragility of it. If you crash it, it's going to die or get really smashed up. So I think I'll probably just do the other two modes, the sport and the normal mode. And then when I get ready for FPV, if I do it in the DJI FPV, I'll have a lot of altitude. So if I get in trouble, I can hit the oh shit button.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
That's what people call it.
Let's get John and yourself on a split screen. And John, certainly you've done a fair bit of flying with the DJI FPV. Do you want to briefly share your thoughts about your learning process?
Yeah, I'm the same, Ellexis. I'm not flying mine in manual mode. It's an expensive item, and just looking at everyone's experience, unless you've got some FPV experience with a lighter quad in manual mode, you're going to damage it. So I just decided I'll leave it in normal mode, so it's got GPS mode, position mode, and fly it and fly it and fly it. And while I haven't crashing it, I'm getting lots and lots of experience with the goggles. So and it sounds like your experience is the same as mine. So I did a lot of flying without the goggles, traditional quad flying. And I'm used to, looking at the screen, the iPad screen. I'm used to looking at the aircraft itself. So the goggles, to transition to goggles is a big change. Yeah. I think once I've got, hours and hours and hours of flying with the goggles on, I think that'll be easier. And the other thing too is that I think when you first go into manual mode, you're going to try it, you don't use the goggles, have the aircraft just hovering in front of you and get the feel of what the movement of the sticks are doing. Because sometimes, getting that relationship between the actual movement of the control sticks and what the aircraft will do is the first place to start. So when I've been training people or giving people a go on the FPV, and all the guys that I fly with have had a great time, I do the first flight they do is without goggles, have a feel of the controls. The thing in sport mode is very lively. So anyway, I won't take too much time, but it sort of reinforces what you're saying. It's a lot of fun. I think it's a great aircraft. Hands down, it's a beauty.
I've flown it. I've flown the DJI FPV. Just like what you said, I've flown it more in just line of sight to get a feel of the controller, and also to get a feel of the motion controller. That's the extra little thing you can fly just with one hand.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I'm taking it slow because there's no rush.
I've not tried that, the motion controller, but I'd love to hear. Is it a natural type of movement that feels right when you use a motion controller?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you get the knack of where the buttons are, there's some buttons. I don't think I have the wait. Oh yes, I do. Hold on, it's in my case. If anybody has, let's see. If anybody has this case, the GPC, these things are they're a little bit. I mean, you
Absolutely.
get but these are really good cases. Hold on. But yeah, okay. It doesn't want me to. It's being camera shy.
They're really good cases, but they don't like opening up.
No, they don't. And probably
has it got the button on it? I've got little release buttons there.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a newbie. So yeah, the case, if I can hold this up, yeah, I've got everything in here for this. This is a really great case. Let's see if I can get enough light.
Yeah, that's the same one I have, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. And the motion controller fits right here.
Yep.
And let me shut this down before I drop it. So there are some buttons on here that I'm not too thrilled about. Let me get some more light on my desk. For instance, the ones on the side, the power button and the record button. I think this one, let's see if I can get that on camera. That little red button right there, that one is record. So it's kind of misplaced because you can, when you're holding it in your hand, you can actually bump it and stop recording. The other one is power. It's up further toward the front, so I don't think that one's going to be an issue, but this one is right where your thumb would go on the side. So, but yeah, it's amazing. I don't have much time with it, but you don't have, some of the videos I've watched on YouTube, they didn't understand it and you had to actually turn your whole body. That's not true. You can actually do everything standing. You don't have to move. You could be seated for that matter. If you're doing, with the goggles. But yeah, this is pretty cool. And of course, I've heard people say this on YouTube, and I agree. If you're handicapped and you only had use of one arm, that would allow somebody that's handicapped to get into FPV where otherwise they couldn't really do it.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Yeah. So I'm loving it. I'm definitely afraid of crashing it, although I did buy the whatever they call it, the
Care Refresh.
Care Refresh. Yeah.
So that's the FPV aircraft, and we've spoken before. You fly other big aircraft as well. Can you remind us what those aircraft were?
Well, I don't fly big aircraft. I fly small aircraft, but
small aircraft that are not drones. That's a better way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, real live person aircraft, but I have sat in on flights on like a Cessna Citation, which is a jet and stuff, but I'm not rated for that. But I was seated next to a person who was qualified, so that was kind of cool. But I'm rated single engine land. I don't have a multi-engine. I want to get my water rating, but a lot of people go, "Why you don't have all that? And you've been flying so long. Why not?" It's because I just never wanted it. To me, it was like I was happy with what I was doing, and so it just serves my purpose. I don't have a purpose to have multi-engine at this point. I probably never will do it. I've been really happy. I just love to fly, and I'm a very fair weather pilot. So, the weather, especially in South Texas, as I'm sure it is on any coastal town, it can change in a heartbeat. So you got to really stay on your toes with weather. But yeah, flying has just been a passion of mine since I've been a young teen. And I really love it. Of course, my husband and I started the flying club 4 years ago last month. So that's been really fun. It comes with its challenges and it's a lot of work, but just hopefully we can get some other younger people that don't even consider aviation as a career. There's so many opportunities right now, and especially as hopefully COVID is coming or going away, and it's not going to come back, hopefully, but it'll rebound at some point, you know.
Can I just ask the flying club that you started, how did you decide to do that in the first place? You said you started it with your husband. What prompted you to do that?
Well, we were getting ready to buy our own airplane, which we still are looking, you know, for something more high performance to go. He's got family on the West Coast, so we've got mountains to get over. So we need something bigger than what the club has. But yeah, we were looking at planes, and I had gone to a seminar about flying clubs, and I just said one day, "Would you like to perhaps do a flying club?" And he's not a pilot. I'm retired out of the medical field. He's still in the medical field. But he says, yeah, he goes, whatever you want to do, you know, that's fine, babe. And I said, okay. So I did a lot of research for about 2 more years on the flying club, because we were in no rush. We were waiting for him to retire, but now he's still going to work for probably 4 or 5 more years. So we decided, yeah, we'll do the flying club. It's a great way to get other people that are like-minded and have that interest. You have a lot of camaraderie. That was the whole purpose, is just to bless this area, because South Texas is really, well, unless you're in some place like Houston, then you've got more opportunities as far as rentals and flying clubs, you know, of all different makes and models of planes. So where we are in Corpus Christi, Texas, there was really nothing except one flight school, and there was a year or 2 before where a hurricane came through and really wiped out all the small schools. They just decided not to come back. So we were then presented with something that we never thought we would do, is the flight school that was here in Corpus ended up folding because all of their certified flight instructors got enough hours and opportunities to further their careers. So they moved on to like regional airlines or major airlines or corporate jobs. So they had like 30-something students, and there was no place for them to go to get their training here locally. So some of them, some of those people, they called us and wanted to know if they could finish, but we're an equity-based club, so they would have to actually pay to get in, which is an extra burden on them, I think. So we didn't really gain any students from that, but we do have 3 students in our club. And that's exciting because it always brings back the memory. I'm sure it is the same with John, that when you first start flying, just the joy of the thrill of leaving Earth and being in command of a ship, and you're really there. You know, it's hard to believe that this piece of metal that or fabric, whatever you're flying, can actually, you know, take you places that would be like half the time or less than you would be by a car, and it's exponentially safer. Some people say it's not, but I disagree.
I'm curious, John, have you had flying clubs in Australia that have the same kind of a model where the club owns the aircraft? Is that something you've been involved in?
Yeah, there are quite a few of those. A lot of the flying schools operate here as clubs. And so that serves their purpose in sort of looking after their students. And so once you've learnt commercially through the school, you sort of become a club member. And they even offer you to own a share of one of the aircraft. You could become a 5th owner, and that aircraft would remain in the school. You know, Ellexis, you've probably been looking at things like a Bonanza or a 210 for something that could climb over the mountains, maybe something with a turbocharger. Then you could own a small portion of that, and then that would still remain in the school for people who are doing transition endorsements onto the retract or whatever type of aircraft. So yeah, there are a number of models here that work. You know, we don't have in Australia anything like what America has in terms of the level of support for GA. You know, we sort of fly long distances between drinks, if you like. Whereas you can hop in your car and go and visit a few flying fields and clubs, within a few hours in a city. We'd only have, even a city of 5 million people, we've only really got one airport, Bankstown and perhaps Camden, that you could go to where there would be that kind of club atmosphere. Gliding in this country works more like some of the American flying clubs. So you become a member of a gliding club and you sort of you wash the airplanes. You sort of get involved on a club level, and it's a social element. I think it's a great thing. We don't have enough of it, unfortunately. It's just not the support, and the cost prohibits most people from being involved in flying clubs. It's cheaper to play golf, yeah. But I started in a school that had a very friendly atmosphere, very social atmosphere. But we were sort of grouped into people. So if you wanted to become a professional pilot, you went to certain instructors, and I actually became friends with some of the more social members, and still remain friends with them these today. You don't often see your instructors, but the friends that you make in a social circle around flying GA aircraft. And I think more and more, maybe like in America too, Ellexis, that ultralight aircraft and light sport aircraft now are doing a lot more in terms of social clubs, because they're much more affordable.
Yeah. Back when I started flying, which was 1971, there was no such rating as like sport flying, that came along. And when I first learned of it, I thought, well, that's kind of stupid, because if you're putting all that, you have to study the same material. So why not just go all the way and get your private certificate and be done with it? But I guess it matches some people's missions, and, so that's fine. But there's too many limitations. I mean, I really love to fly at night. I think night flying is just a blast. It's in some ways advantageous today. And Zebmeet, I believe he is also a private pilot. Well, we've chatted a little tiny bit, but yeah, he's another private pilot, and that's primarily why people seek out flying clubs, is because it's affordable. You're sharing the expense, and you're also bonding with people, and sometimes you can even share the expense of the cost of the plane with how many ever seats you have, and or a couple different pilots fly together. But
I'm just curious, Ellexis, if we've got two audience groups here, right? Some people who are drone people who would want to get into a flying club. What is your advice to them? Find one, just go and start. And conversely, people who are GA pilots who are thinking about getting into drones. I mean, you've got a little bit from both sides. Any quick comments from yourself on those two groups?
I think with the drone community that wanted to get into actual flying, I would go for a discovery flight. If you have a local airport, you can Google it now, which there's so many nice technology things. But yeah, Google and find an airport that either has a flight school or something like that. I wouldn't start so much with a flying club, but I would just see, first of all, if flying is something that you like. You'll know if you go on a good day and then you don't have somebody that is taking you up on something that makes you ill. But just go on a discovery flight, just see if it's something. Usually, before you leave the ground. I mean, I knew before I could really talk, but yeah. Then so I would start there. But flying clubs, if you're really actually wanting to learn to fly, sometimes flying clubs can be better. Just because of the cost, sometimes compare the cost between a flight school. But yeah, I don't know what it's like in Australia and how many people of your viewers tune in from that or other countries. But in the United States, basically, to get a private pilot certificate, you really only need 40 hours in total. That's the bare minimum. And
John, what do we need here?
Yeah, look, I suppose we call a TIF or a trial instruction flight is the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
A ride to go and find out, because TIF is a great way to do it. And look, they're affordable, and they're going to treat you very nicely because they see you as a potential customer,
Right.
for sure. And so, absolutely, one of the best things, I used to do TIFs, and the popular one was for birthdays. It's a great birthday present. If you know someone in your family who's interested in flying, go ring the flying school and say, I've got someone I'd like to give a TIF to, just a half an hour flight, and have it as a birthday present. You could drop the right hints. And that's where all the gaps will be filled in, because the instructor or the person who's taking a TIF will say, well, if you're interested, this is what the steps would be. And they sit down with you. Sometimes you have questions about, do I need to know a lot of mathematics? I didn't feel confident at school. And then you pretty quickly learn that the mathematics doesn't, or your academic skills don't play a lot. You need to apply yourself in navigation, but everything is pretty much understandable, and you would go through the steps to learn how navigation works. And I found it incredibly interesting. I wasn't an A grade student at school, but I ended up getting interested in navigation, and now through boats as well. I can use a sextant. I love all that kind of stuff, the early ways of navigating. And GPS. Well, everyone's got a GPS in their pocket these days. You turn it on and it tells where you are and where you're going, and that's the new world. That's what we have these in our aircraft now. So, look, it's a journey, and a lot of the time people say, I like the phrase, and my instructor used, it's not the end of the journey that matters. What matters is the journey in the end. Even if you start and have a little bit of experience in flying, and you may say, I want to fly the space shuttle one day. That's not important. It's actually the process, not how far you get in your flying, but just being immersed in flying, and even if it remains very simple. I was really lucky, Ellexis. I got to fly citations and things like that, and I'd still rather fly Tiger Moth, but one of the things about that, some of the more memorable flying that I've done, even amongst the commercial flying, is the fun flying that I've done in very simple and affordable airplanes. They've been the trips I remember most. So you don't need to worry about flying big stuff or fast stuff, or that sometimes is hard work.
Well, speaking of flying stuff, let's press this button.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to play Stump the Yank.
Oh, joy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and...
You know what? I tested that before the show.
Well, Lloyd's muted. Oh, there he is.
I tested that before the show, and it only did one. The wonders of Wirecast, it sometimes does weird things. We've got Lloyd here. It's time to play Stump the Yank, and we've got one real Aussie and one honorary Aussie on the other side, and our honorary Yank in the middle. Let's see if we can stump her today. Lloyd, what do you got for us?
Okay. Let's see, where was I at? Okay. I usually give three choices, so what is a dag? Is it a cigarette? Is it an Australian beer? Or is it somebody who's a bit of a nerd or a geek?
I'm writing these down so I can look at the answer.
Yeah.
Nerd, geek. A DAG, a DAG.
DAG, yeah.
And what country
DAG.
does that word originate from?
Oh, it's Australia. Of
I don't
course.
know.
It's Australia.
These are all Australian terms I'm giving you.
Okay, I would say a cigarette.
Nope. It's a nerd.
It's a nerd? Okay. Well,
It's a nerd, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Hang on a
one.
sec. Hang on.
Okay.
Now you just need to smoke a nerd.
Hang on a second. You just said, what's a DAG, Lloyd?
Yeah.
A DAG. Well, hang on a second. Just to re-clarify this, because we don't want to get the wrong answer here. A lot of Australians watching. A dag is well, I've been called a dag. A dag is someone who might go out go to a restaurant in a singlet and some UGG boots. You can dress like a dag, and if you're acting like a dag, a nerd is a I don't know.
Yeah, but he said a nerd or a geek. He's trying to encapsulate that.
Yeah, I don't think
a dag doesn't have a direct translation, I think. But if you're trying
what it actually is, a dag is actually at the end of a sheep's butt. All right, where it becomes knotted up, isn't it? Right? It becomes knotted up. Right. So when you're shearing a sheep, you remove the dags, right? You remove where it's going, its business, knots up the wool, and ties up. So that's the actual literal version of what it is.
I just go by what it tells me.
I don't know how that fits into a nerd though, but so
I don't know. Anyway. I've heard it before, but I'm not sure.
Well, I don't feel too bad after all that dialogue.
Go ahead.
All right. Let's see. What else have I got?
I just needed to say that for all the Australians out there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right.
What else we got?
Let's see. I had a couple of them. What's a hoon? Is it an Australian bird?
Hoon. H-O-O-N.
H-O-O-N.
How do you spell it again?
H-O-O-N.
A hoon. H-O-O-N.
Yeah.
Yes.
A hoon.
Is it a bird in Australia? Is it a cigarette?
Another one.
Or is it somebody who's driving badly?
I would say driving badly.
That's right. Short for hooligan. You got that one right.
I wouldn't say, someone who's driving badly, there's a lot of people who are driving badly who are not hoons.
Well, that's a hoon is short for hooligan. Somebody who's,
Yeah, but John, you'd have to agree. A hoon specifically relates in Australia to someone who's putting the foot on the gas, driving fast, and or doing burnouts, peel-outs, and or got loud mufflers and exhausts.
Yeah, but true. But you can be a hoon with a drone as well, If you've got your FPV, you can hoon in it. You know what I mean? But it means the same thing. But we're really getting technical in this segment, aren't we? I mean,
so what did Ellexis say? I can't remember. What did she say?
She said... She said the right answer. She said somebody driving badly or somebody, hooligan. Yeah.
Okay, so we got one
hooligan.
for one.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a hooligan.
Okay, the tiebreaker.
Okay. Let me see if I can find one. Some of these I can't say on this show. Let's see. Okay. Now I've done that one too many times. I want to do that one.
What have you got one for us, John?
John, what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. So I could use some rhyming slang ones because I always kind of like those. Let me think. Hoon.
Look, here's one. I haven't necessarily thought of the three answers, but what does it mean to bail?
Yeah, bail.
Spell it.
B-A-I-L.
Oh, bail.
Bail.
Well, and where I live, it's putting up the money to get out of jail. No.
Lloyd,
I said
what do you got?
The American. You got to give me choices.
Well, to bail means leave someone standing, bail out, jump. Get.
Well, that's
like the
pretty much what I said, is it not?
Yeah. In other words, you leave somebody on the lurch. You leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're cancelling something. You're not doing something that you intended to do.
Right.
You're bailing on them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the meaning is here. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah. It means.
I have a question of my American friends. So if I was at the pub, and I was going to leave, I've been having drinks with friends, and I'd just use the term, I'm going to bail, right? So that makes sense. The other day, a friend of mine who comes from New York got up in the middle of a party and just left, and he didn't say goodbye to anybody. He just wanted to leave and not have to do a whole lot of goodbyes, right? And I rang him later and I said, you know, what's going on? You didn't say goodbye. He said, yeah, I pushed a wheelbarrow out the door. Have you ever heard of that saying before? I pushed a wheelbarrow out the door? So
No.
I was going to ask it. So I tried to get an explanation. The best one I could get was, he said, well, if you were sitting in the pub and someone was walking by with a wheelbarrow full of stuff and went out the door, you wouldn't figure they were leaving. They were just doing something, you know? So,
Right.
yeah. So
I've got to run.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. I
almost.
didn't know that was an Americanism or not. So
No, I
wanted to
hadn't
ask.
heard that one. So
I've never
Okay.
heard
I'll be
it.
right back. I've got to run, guys.
Sorry,
Okay,
Lloyd. Okay. Look, we've finished our little bit of fun in the middle of the show. So, Ellexis, thank you for being with us and appreciate you. You're welcome to stay in the background as we get into our last
Absolutely.
few clips for the day.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thanks,
for
Ellexis.
any time, guys. I love y'all.
Okay. So let's go and get started with this one over here, Sunflower Field. This is just a nice video that came into my news feed this week. The owner of this sunflower field that's open to the community says that she was raised to love the land and love farming. And we want to share some of that with people. As I said, this was just some nice footage taken with a drone. Now let me get the volume for that back up. There we go.
And we want to share that with people. I think it's a blessing. It's a way to spread joy in such a simple thing as just opening up our yard for people to come out and enjoy something that we had, you know, put in for the bees and the other pollinators and that, and just to be able to share that with people and bring them joy. You know, me and the family really enjoy it. My kids love running out here and meeting people and talking to them. Last year with COVID, everything was closed and it was hard to, you know, find joy, I think, for people and a different routine. And I think that people found that when they were able to come out here and spend quality time with their family doing something outside that was safe. They've loved it. People have loved it. You know, some people have sentimental value with sunflowers and being able to come out and stuff and look at them. It's really been, you know, touching to some people and that. And, you know, they're able to make memories, and doing it every year, come out and take pictures every year with their family and watch their family grow in the same spot. So.
Yeah, some nice footage
great.
there. Just
That's
something,
beautiful.
it's a different perspective, something you don't often see that big. I'm going to skip a story just for a minute. I want to go, since that one mentioned bees, we're going to go to story 109 now. What we're going to have a look at, this is a queen bee laying an egg. In fact, multiple eggs. We happened to search for drone-related stuff, and the word drone was in here. There weren't many good drone stories, so why not have a look at something different? If a colony needs more bees, a strong and well-fed queen can lay her own body weight in eggs each day. Fun fact. And if you ever wanted to see a queen bee next to a worker bee and a drone bee, this is your chance to compare each of the types alongside one another. There's only one male drone bee in the video, and that's the big bee to the upper left of the queen as she lays the eggs. All the other bees are female worker bees. So again, apologies for something a bit different. It was a slow news week for drones, and this is what we've got instead.
Well, you know, they call bees drones, don't they?
They do, and that's why it came up in our search feed.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We can have a whole lot of bees. But,
Yeah.
I don't know whether the correlation of the name is why. I mean, a bee was called a drone before there were drones, right? I mean, the word comes from bees. Am I right?
Because they're buzzing around and the noise made from our aircraft.
Well, I don't know if it's the buzzing, but, you know, the word drone has that sound, drone, you know, so in a musical sense, you could almost say that drone is a sound that they make. Mind you, my FPV doesn't make a drone sound, man. It sounds like a racing car. But, you know, I must research that because I'm not even sure where the word drone in aviation came from, whether it came from the bee. I don't know. What are we getting? Anything in the chat?
Thunderbird is saying drone bees can hover.
There you go. Yeah,
There you go. Our audience knows everything.
Our audience knows everything. We do. You know, that's right.
Yeah.
That's good. I don't need an encyclopedia.
Let's go back one story now, and we go to 1.08. This one over here. The Asian arowana is the world's costliest aquarium fish, rumoured to sell for as much as $300,000. But a cheaper alternative is now available, and it comes in the form of an underwater drone. For crazy rich Asians, or anyone for that matter, the arakawa, also known as a dragonfish, is a status symbol like no other. It is prized by Yakuza gang members in Japan, for example. Chinese business tycoons are obsessed with it because they associate the fish's red colour and coin-like glimmering scales with good luck and prosperity. What you are looking at is drone, a robot. It just happens to look very much like a fish. I've seen a lot of underwater drone and gadgets before, but this one is just too realistic.
除了外形仿生之外啊，其实它最大的这个仿生还是
Look at that, John.
它的这个运动方式，就是我们把这个真的鱼的这个运动方式
Wow.
做了解剖，然后给它也这个同步的放到了机器人上边，然后让它有了很多这种海洋生物或者说是水里生物的这样的一个生活习性。
If you didn't know, let's just watch this again in the aquarium.
Okay.
If you didn't know, you would swear that was actually a fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
No fish cap, and no fish crap to clean up either.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're being a bit shellfish there, Lloyd. There's no porpoise in a joke like that.
What a disappointment, though, if you caught it somehow in a net.
Yeah, absolutely.
You couldn't eat it.
And you're going,
What
look,
would it taste like? Would you grill it or would you bake it?
You'd open it with a screwdriver.
You've got to bake integrated circuits to put them together, so bake it, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to have lots of socket to eat that, though.
Let's move on. Okay, we've only got a couple of quick ones left. This one over here is something that was just interesting. It came across my desk. And this is a delivery drone story. Just watch. That's all.
Citizens, remain calm. Alpha team assemble C formation.
Copy, Order Leader. Standing by to targets.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not be alarmed. This is a socially distant delivery from Conan O'Brien. Stand back. Delivery incoming.
Oh, man.
Where's the drop button? Whoops.
You missed it, John.
Delivery
Oh, what was
successful.
that?
They dropped it from a great height there, one of them.
It's Funko Pops.
Conan as Wonder Woman.
Chucky.
Aquaman.
Marty McFly.
Funko Pops. Lloyd, what are Funko Pops?
Sir, you got the wrong Spielberg movie.
There's some stupid toy that these kids are all into. I don't know.
Enjoy your vinyl collectibles.
Just sort of like bobbleheads, I guess. I have no
Well,
idea.
Whatever they are,
I don't
they're
have
using-
kids anymore. Well,
they're using drones as a way of marketing that to the younger generation, and for whatever reason, it works.
Wow.
We've got one last story, and for whatever reason, I don't have the title here, but that's fine. Let's just go and play this last one.
Hey, look, Ellexis got one.
Ellexis has got a Funko Pop.
I have a whole collection of these, so it's not just for kids. I absolutely love them. Right outside my office, there's probably 50 of them.
Did they get delivered by drone?
Do they what, honey?
Did they get delivered by drone?
Oh God, no! I thought the drone was going to deliver Ken Heron his socks. He's been talking. So these are cool. They come in all different. It's big. I mean, and see, they're numbered. They're like a serial number up in the corner. So and of course I'm really into Batman, Batgirl, all the villains. So I've got every one of these for the most part. I've got some that are collector items. Some of these can be very expensive, and you'll notice that none of mine are open because I don't open anything.
Okay,
like they're the modern version of the Beanie Baby.
Yeah, it could be.
So it's like a collectible, right? You can collect.
I mean, there's people that play with them, of course, but I don't. I just do it because I like to collect things, and I've got an entire bat cave in our house. So, in fact, I was showing Trevor Fuss some of my bat cave photos last night on Discord. So he was kind of.
I can understand the Batman thing. I rewatched a lot of the original episodes a couple of months ago, because I grew up watching Batman. You know, it was something. It was the one thing, and I watched a documentary about the humor of it. You know, how much because when you're a kid, you're not getting all of the adult humor, of course. It was slapstick. It was great. It was good on the actors and everything. I really enjoyed it.
And I have a Batman drone.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's not like a drone like FPV or anything. It's more for a child, but it does fly. Has a controller. Cool. I've never opened it. I've never flown it because, like I said, I don't open things. I keep it for a collection. We probably have. Well, we have enough to fill up the entire upstairs of our home. In fact, I have I can't take the camera there, but I have a life-size 6-foot male mannequin dressed up like Batman just outside my door at the steps, so that
would terrify me.
Well, we're gonna get somebody on probably Etsy to make the armored
costume
thing from Batman v Superman.
What about the car? I always loved that car. It was like a Firebird, some kind of special. And
there's several
Pontiac,
versions
wasn't it?
Batmobile. Yeah,
right.
We have one from the UK that is a Batmobile. I could probably find it. It's like I said, we got a huge collection, but that is actually a telephone that you plug into the wall. But I got that from the UK.
I'm just reading here in the chat room there. Thunderbird 6 is saying he was wondering if it was actually a Ken Heron mannequin.
Yes, and he's wearing his red, white, and blue underwear that I bought him. Yeah, with the straps. Did you see that on his show?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm working on.
Do you have any Thunderbird collectibles?
I'm sorry, John.
Do you have any Thunderbird collectibles?
Not
from Thunderbirds.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
But yeah, let me
do this. I'll tell you what. I'm going to quickly go into our last story, and then I've got to do a quick little shot with Lloyd on the TV screen, and then we'll have a informal chat about anything else, and we'll call it a day. So let's just quickly go to that last story now. Sorry, the title's not there, but as drone pilots, most of us normally want to steer clear of wildlife, in particular whales, to avoid interfering with their ecosystem and getting them annoyed. Unless you're the pilot of Snotbot. This amazing drone is designed to get in close just when the whale is letting rip out of his or her blowhole and capture some of the organic material. Yes, this is a thing, and we did see it once before, but it's come back up in the press again this week, and I just thought we'd have one more look at it because this was some good footage of the actual aircraft down below. So it's not the Snotbot taking this video, but it's a tiny little drone that you'll see in the footage there. There you go. You can see them moving around there.
Yeah, you can too. The whale doesn't seem too disturbed by it.
Yeah, look, when I made the comments about trying to steer clear of nature and whatnot, you do try, but by the same token, a lot of animals are not too concerned about it. One recent story that I heard on Ken's show this week, they did research with heart monitors of sheep, comparing drones to sheepdogs.
Yeah, right.
Now, Lloyd, I thought you had something that you wanted to say about this one. We were talking before the show.
Yes, I did. And it misfired.
Okay, we'll leave the snotbot there. But again, look, I think it's a really interesting use of drone technology, something to go and capture the drone's blowhole.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there. And look, last comments. I don't know. Lloyd, what's going on with you?
Crap. Sorry.
He's losing it.
Sound effects buttons. The sound effects button. I hit the wrong one again. My bad.
Oh, look at the bat wing. That's a drone.
It's it really flies. Has its own controller.
Yeah, cool. I'd have to take that out of the box. I couldn't look at it like that in the box and not fly it. It'd kill me.
I've probably had this for about probably 5 or 6 years. And then we've got some of these that are open, but this is one that's still new in the box. It's got a little tear here, but let's see if I can get the lighting right.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's an actual telephone that, well, here, let me show you the back of the box. There you go.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Okay, very cool.
Gotta have one of those. The bat phone.
So we've reached this point of the show, and I'm just going to quickly put Lloyd up on the screen for one other thing and see if he can screw this one up as well. Lloyd, I mentioned to you earlier on about someone in our show is an impersonator. You heard about that. Now, the question is, someone is actually an owl impersonating a person.
Ooh.
There you go.
Thanks for playing along, Lloyd.
Where's that sound? Where's that sound that you were going to play before? I liked it. And you lost it.
Well, yeah.
He'd lost it a long time ago.
Is that it?
I can't hear anything.
I don't know what's...
It's not, your audio from your sound thing is not coming through.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Finally.
That came through. That wasn't the
I don't know
one.
about you guys, but I'm going to go flying.
Okay, look, no, enough. John, thank you. Any last words from you?
Well, it's been fun. I'm so glad we got Ellexis back on the show again to have a chat. We're looking forward to that. Most certainly after meeting her, earlier in the program. So I just want to say, Lloyd, take care, mate, on your drive up to the log cabin, and hopefully you get some time to relax and enjoy yourself. And fly safe, everybody. So. I'll see you next week.
And Lloyd, let's go to Ellexis in the middle there. Any last thoughts and words from you this week?
An American term to stump my Aussie friends. What does it mean to have a green thumb?
You're a gardener.
Yeah, gardener.
Okay. Let's try one more. I've got to stump you.
We adopt a lot of your phrases.
Really? Okay, so...
We see them in movies.
Yeah, they steal them all.
What about
we see
a
them in movies?
pack?
Fanny pack? Yeah, that thing you have around your waist that's...
That means...
yeah, got
Alexa, it. That means something completely different in Australia than it does here, let me tell you. And it's not...
Well, there is a secondary meaning, yes.
How about being behind the 8 ball?
Yeah, that when you're behind the 8 ball, you're slow. You're not catching up. Yeah, you're
You're kind of
behind,
stuck.
basically.
You're stuck.
You're stuck. You're behind the 8 ball. I got to finish this report. I'm behind the 8
Okay.
ball.
Yep. Okay, you
So
guys are.
thank you, Ellexis. We're going to go over to our last one for the day. Grumps, any last word from you?
Have a good weekend, folks. Everything I've done today, my stupid computerized voice started going off when I said her name. And that's why I was ranting and raving and waving my arms. I was trying to get it to shut up. So, anyway, everybody be kind. Treat each other better and treat yourselves. Remember, even old farts like me matter. Have a good weekend.
Yay.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks, Ellexis. Thanks, John.
See you
Next
everybody.
time, we will be back again. I did have our little announcements that we do at the end of the show. I'm going to skip it today. Enough. Have fun. Have a good week. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
If you gargle your snot again, I'm going to hit you.